So, I'm your destiny?
You're much more than that, Cirilla.
I need to understand some things.
The world is changing. Centra isn't safe for you anymore.
What exactly is Cameron?
You're home. Finally.
Who the hell are you?
Sometimes I feel so afraid. I feel like I could burn the whole world.
Facing your fear is not easy, but I am here for you.
Hello and welcome to this What Do You Want to Watch Spoilercast for Season 2 of The Witcher. I'm Ashley Hobley, joining me today, Dylan Blight. Good. It's like he's here.
Such a good impression!
Yeah. Alright, so please be aware we'll be freely discussing anything and everything about the plot themes and ending of the series so far. So if you haven't watched it, come back later. Of course, it is streaming right now on Netflix. So let's jump into our discussion of The Witcher Season 2. Created for TV by Lauren Schmidt Hissrich. Based on The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski. Directed by Steven Surjik, Sarah O'Gorman, Ted Bazalgette, and Louise Hooper. Written by Declan Barra, Lauren Schmidt Hissrich, Clare Higgins, Beau, DeMayo, Sneha, Koorse, Haley Hall, Matthew D. Ambrosio, Mike Ostrowski, starring Henry Cavill, Anya, Chalotra, Freya, Allan, Joey Batey, Eamon, Farren, MyAnna, Buring, Anna Shaffer, and Kim Bodnia. Convinced Yennefer's life was lost at the Battle of Sodden, Geralt of Rivia brings Princess Cirilla to the safest place he knows, his childhood home of Kaer Morhen. While the continent's kings, elves, humans, and demons strive for supremacy outside its walls, he must protect the girl from something far more dangerous, the mysterious power she possesses inside. Dylan, it's been 2 years since we got Season 1 of The Witcher. Did it feel too long of a gap?
Everything's a blur at the moment, so I really don't know. I mean, it felt like it'd been over a year, but I guess, yeah, because it did come out at the end. So, yeah, 2 years. I felt like maybe it'd only been like 18 months, but I guess, yeah, 2 years. So,
It's been 2 years, yeah.
COVID,
yeah. I feel like that's a major thing. Even though, obviously, Game of Thrones had major gaps in it and that kind of thing. But, yeah. What did you think of Season 2 of The Witcher?
I thought it was really good, but also in a different way, which is the thing. So, I'm not sure if I'd actually preferred this or the first season. I'm sort of undecided. I enjoyed watching this with its linear storytelling and just being able to know what was happening, even if I looked away for a second, like missed some connecting thing or whatnot. Although that does lead to my biggest problem with the show, which I'll get to right now. It's funny because you mentioned Game of Thrones, which is everything is apparently 5 minutes away on a horse. And that's the one major difference between this being linear and the other being like there's always a huge gap of time and everything's sort of a short story and like it could be weeks before or weeks after, a month or years later. You have no idea, so it didn't really matter. And that worked. They could do stuff. They could throw characters all across the continent and do whatever they wanted because it was like that was part of the thing. However, this season they sort of like tried to still do that, but they're now doing it in linear storytelling. And someone's like, "I'm eating Kaer Morhen." Like, all right, and then they get there in like 5 minutes.
Listen,
the next person's there like 10 minutes.
That's why Roach had to die because he was overworked, getting everywhere so fast. It was like,
yeah,
that's why
there's a lot of fast traveling. They're like, oh, this series is based on the books, not the game. So I'm like, is it though? Because you're getting places pretty fucking fast.
Yeah.
That is honestly my one really big criticism for this season is that because it did like when it got to a stage maybe at episode 6 where my brain like picked up on it and then I was like, it just annoyed me from that point on through the last couple episodes. Once I like,
you're not falling everywhere, so
no, it doesn't ruin the show, but it is sort of annoying. But then it did make me think about why that wasn't a problem in the first season, and it is because of the time, the different types of storytelling, and that you can just throw characters across different places, and it doesn't matter because that was the storytelling, the way it fitted into that. But yeah, I kind of miss. I really enjoy the story here. I enjoy obviously seeing Ciri being trained, and I enjoy having Ciri, like watching this sort of Ciri origin story, like her going through the training and choosing to become a badass and wanting revenge and all these sorts of stuff. That's like all really good. Seeing Yennefer lose her powers for an entire, it was like crazy they committed. I wasn't sure if that's because I haven't read the book this is based upon. I didn't know what the hell was going to happen, but yeah, seeing her go entire season without any powers, I was like, oh yeah, that's a choice. Because her whole thing was she
spent the whole first season
getting her
magic,
her learning magic, and it's like such a big part of her character. So, but yeah, I can't decide if I like it more or the first season more. But there's something special about that first season being the short story stuff, because then you did get so many different characters, and it was always building this bigger narrative, but you'd got all these little throwaway villains and monsters and characters, and there was something very enjoyable about that sort of aspect, but there's also something obviously very enjoyable about a linear story focused on these three main characters, and then by the time you get to the end of this season, it's like, okay, they're together now, they're on this adventure together as this like pseudo family, which is what they are, like Geralt's the father figure, Yennefer's the mother figure. That's what it becomes, obviously. They're enjoyable in different ways. But yeah, it's still The Witcher. I still very much enjoy. I think the special effects this season look a lot better. You could tell they got a bit more money for them. Show looks beautiful. And this isn't me memeing, but like it looks so much better. Watch, because we got screeners for the first one. Right?
Yeah.
And I think they were sending them through, like I looked up the source code and they were like somewhere between 1080p to 2K, but they weren't full 4K. Like it was some weird thing. And as soon as I pressed play in the first episode of this, then walking through that forest at the start, I was like, oh, this is so good. Like this is really high resolution. Looks real pretty on my brand new OLED TV. Oh no, that's me memeing. But it does look really good. It's shot very, very, very well. Jaskier coming back. He's really good in this season, obviously. Like when he showed up, he was like, oh, thank God, like a long lost friend. There's like a lot of really cool moments throughout it. Lots of really cool mentions of other things, like by the time you get to the end of it and you have the Wild Hunt showing up, it's like, oh shit, even though the name dropped him, and I was like, oh shit. And then you see him at the end, you're like, oh shit. I know I've looked up, obviously, I'm sure maybe you'll touch on it in a minute, but the people getting pissy about changes to the book by the end of the season.
I have not looked any reactions.
I haven't read this book. I do want to eventually like do all the Witcher books, but I've only done the short story shit. So whatever, I don't know.
Okay, so apparently,
very, very good.
Apparently, the season is based on A Grain of Truth from The Last Wish, Blood of Elves, and the beginning of Time of Contempt. So, for people who are interested, I guess. I really like the season as well. I do kind of miss like the short storyness of it, and like kind of the monster of the episode a bit, where they kind of got pushed aside to focus on like
they do it for one episode.
They do it for the opening episode, yeah. Which was a great episode. Loved it. Obviously having what's his name?
From Game of Thrones. There's
from Game of Thrones. Yeah, I can't.
Or from Fast and Furious 8.
From Fast and Furious 8, yeah. Having him as like, this fucked up friend of Geralt.
He's the beast. It's literally Beauty
it's Beauty and the Beast, but then they're both the Beast. So that was a fucked up story. I enjoyed obviously the build up of Ciri this season, especially with the first season where she didn't have a lot to do except running around a lot.
Well, I guess for a lot of the first season, like especially in the town, like in what the fuck is that city called? Citra?
Citra. Yeah.
Citra. Inside there, like even though it was focused on her a lot of time, it was more building up like her aunt, uncle, her parents, where the hell are they? What happened to them? Like all these characters that are important, and like history of the world that's important, that she's sort of like who you're seeing it through at times. And then obviously once she escapes, it is like running, runs into elves, runs into other character that may be important, knocks over fucking tower that may or may not be important. You're like, there's lots of like...
there's lots of stuff that she encounters that move like has ripple effects going forward.
Yeah.
But at the time, it's like, you know. Also, I appreciate they let her. I don't know what they were doing with her eyebrows in the first season. Whether they were like lightening her eyebrows, but they just left them dark this season and it looks fine. So it's kind of weird looking back at shots of season 1 and like the difference. Because obviously she's aged a bit as well. So
she's a lot older, well, not a lot older, but you can tell she is older.
Yeah. And obviously we have her training and that kind of stuff, and kind of obviously she's like the key point of the season. Like she's got these powers that we don't really understand and that kind of thing. But yeah, exploring that and kind of her relationship with Geralt and everything, really good. The other major addition to this season is obviously they're in Morin, so we get all the other witches. Of course, primarily Vesemir. One thing I'll just shout out straight away, like surprising, there was a lot of mentions of the events of the Wolf of
whatever it was called, the animated thing.
Nightmare of the Wolf, yes.
Nightmare of the Wolf. So I was going to bring that up because so some of this stuff I know, like Geralt's, whatever you want to call him, Geralt's history from this sort of stuff from the games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like whatever else, because I haven't got to any of this shit in the book. So like I would have been okay if I hadn't watched that movie. However, I do feel like watching that movie will definitely improve your viewing experience of The Witcher Season 2. But I don't feel like any of the mentions to it in the show feel like they wouldn't have been in the script even without that movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they're all naturally mentioned. Yeah. They don't feel like forced, like, oh, the animated reference. Like it feels like they're just talking about events. And because we've watched the animated movie, like, yes, I too remember thing because I have watched the thing happen. Yeah.
Also, plug, we did do a spoilercast for Nightmare of the Wolf, so you can go back and listen to that on this What Do You Want to Watch feed. Also, I will also shout out, Netflix has if you go to The Witcher...
It's like a hub home
thing? Yeah. Which is obviously them setting up. Obviously, they've got Nightmare of the Wolf, The Witcher, and they've got Blood Origins, which we'll get to at the end. Blood and Origin, whatever it's called. But yeah, what did you think of Vesemir?
Yeah, I think he was really good. I think he very much feels like the character. Again, I know, so it gets annoying, I guess, to book people to mention the games or whatever, but that's, a lot of people do think. But yeah, he does seem very much similar to how he is from what I know, which is the games. So he's that sort of character who you feel like could whip out and kick your ass if he needed to, but most of the time his job is sort of just being the older mentoring figure sort of thing. So yeah, no, I did like him.
Yeah, I really liked him as well. Like, I mostly know him from like Killing Eve, where he also plays like a weird father figure. So, but he obviously looks quite different with the long hair and the beard and everything. So, yeah, I really enjoyed him. I enjoyed like the snippets we got of the other Witcher characters before almost all of them die during the season. So, I enjoyed. One of the things I really appreciate is the turn during Ciri's like training on the obstacle course, where it's like give up and like they were
cheering.
Yeah, the turn to cheering. It's like, yeah, love that. Really good. I think also this season, even more so, there was a lot of the political stuff between the different factions of the continent.
I mean, there was a lot in the first season.
There was, but it was like... I feel like, obviously, all the adventures with Geralt, like, taking down monsters was cut in between, so it didn't feel as heavy, I guess. But obviously we get all the events of the Nilfgaardians and the elves plotting against each other, with each other against the rest of the continent, and that kind of stuff.
You've got the North. You've got Nilfgaard. You've got the elves. And then technically they do mention like Skellig as well as a place that isn't involved, but they name drop it. And then, yeah, you've got the interworkings of different groups involved there. But I think that's the main three groups, is basically the North, what they call, quote unquote.
With the Council of the Mages and the Brotherhood and everything, yeah. And
what we're led to believe are yeah, we're led to believe are the good characters, even though by the time you get to the end of the season, you soon learn that none of them are outrightly good. There's good people within every group, but there's no outwardly like good nation or whatever that you should be getting behind. So you've got the North, you've got the Nilfgaard, who we met last season, of course, who had that big fight, and that's who Yennefer went to go fight against at the end of last season. And then the Elves, which we did meet some last season, but not in a group form in which they're portrayed in this season, which is more so as a their own sort of civil uprising, almost like a First Nations fighting back against their oppressors. I mean, ultimately, yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting kind of seeing that play out. The alliance between those two parties, which eventually kind of disintegrates until like a really rough last moment. It was really interesting. These elves that don't particularly want to fight, but like feel like they have to survive and that kind of thing. Obviously, the big thing they had this baby going through the entire season. Coming to that, and then it ends with the baby being murdered. It's like
they show the baby too, which I was like, wow, that's
wow.
I mean, then they show getting stabbed, but they show her holding like the dead baby, which is
and then she goes out and like murders a bunch of other babies in retaliation. So
kills a lot of babies.
Lots of babies.
I presume they just fucking like explode or die. I don't know, because all you see is them get like marked with a spell, and then just
I think they just stop breathing. Yeah,
I guess could be.
They just start turning blue. It's like they left it to your imagination, which is probably the best choice.
Yeah, probably the best choice.
So we got Yennefer, obviously, like you said, this season. No magic, kind of going from place to place. It's crazy that the big bad of this season is Baba Yaga.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, the hut like literally has legs like Baba Yaga. So, yeah. It's interesting with her magic. Like, why did she lose her magic? How'd she get it back? Really?
Well, she got it stolen, right? Or no, she lost it all because she used the fire.
Yeah.
They're not supposed to use fire. It's an uncontrollable magic that kills most people if they use it. She managed to control it, but then, like, lost it. That's how I took it. I don't think they ever really explain it unless I missed it, but like they do explain fire magic's banned for a reason.
Yeah.
Like it kills most people, uncontrollable form, it's bad side of chaos or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got all this going on, and she's teaming up with people she wouldn't team up with last season, like the guy from Nilfgaard. They travel around for a while. She like full on best buds with Gassier. Which I enjoyed. I like the banter at the start when they encounter each other for the first time, and like, and then them like getting along and being, good friends. And then of its course, like to the point where she kidnaps Ciri and is about to like give her to Baba Yaga.
I mean, that's the whole thing. The entire season is literally Yennefer's thing is to track down Ciri and like kill her, basically.
Yeah. She just wants the magic back. She'll do whatever it takes. Last season, she just wanted babies. This season, she wants the magic back. Yeah. I think, obviously, like we said, there's like, we see the repercussions of Ciri's actions. Like, she destroyed that, what was it? Monument? No, what's it called?
Yeah, it starts with M. Fuck. I can't remember what they're called.
Monolith. There we go.
Yeah, Monolith.
Yeah, so she destroyed that monolith last season. And that's had the repercussions of giant, terrible monsters that the witches have never encountered before coming and killing them all. Or chasing her, at least. Like this giant tree monster, and then this giant, like, centipede monster.
Leshy.
Yeah. The centipede monster, which was weird, it, like, stopped for a moment with it. It looked like it wasn't going to actually attack her.
I don't know what the fuck that thing was. That was like a weird hybrid thing.
Yeah. But then Geralt, like, stabbed it and pulled his
Comes off like a legend.
Yeah.
Straight off the ledge, straight through the face.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah. So we get a bunch of other characters like interacting, like Yennefer's old friend. We get to see whatever the palette temple place is, where there's no violence. That didn't last very long. Yeah, lots of different stuff happened this season.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing, like, again,
and it was only 8 episodes. That's the craziest thing.
Yeah, the biggest thing in this season that they dive into, and I'm going to struggle to explain it because like I haven't got all the books knowledge. I've only got little lab. But so they mentioned spheres a lot in the last couple episodes. So what they're actually kind of talking about is literally different like universes. So like the whole, and they mentioned also another thing, the conjunction or whatever they call it, like this big event that they never really in this season at least bother trying to explain. So this is what that show we're going to talk about in a minute is sort of going to be about, like the origin story of this stuff. But like I think in Witcher lore, as far as I'm aware, to a degree, it is more or less like there was an event that collided a bunch of universes, and that's where humans were able to like sort of come through. Like there's an elf world or whatever combined. This is where the form of chaos comes and all this sort of shit. This is also what forms monsters and whatever else. Like it's this big event. So there in The Witcher, when they say different spheres, they mean literally different planes of existence. And Ciri, with her elder blood, is a character who is able to walk these planes. Because there's always like in The Witcher 3, spoiler for the game, there's always a joke. So she went and like traveling through a bunch of these planes, and then she comes back. And there was always like, there's a line in The Witcher 3 at some stage where she says she went to a place where there was all these neon lights and weird moving vehicles, which was obviously sort of like an Easter egg mention for Cyberpunk before they put out that game. So there was always like,
did they though?
It was like a purposeful joke about obviously the Cyberpunk
the
world.
joke I was making, did they actually put out Cyberpunk?
Oh, yeah. But like at the time it was like, hey, like sort of thing. And then I was always very disappointed to find out when Cyberpunk actually came out, they never like put a random Siri like walking through in the background of the scene or something, which I thought would have been cool. But
when they're fixing it.
Yeah. When they fucking finish the game. But ultimately, yes. So characters, there's a multiverse or whatever you want to call it in The Witcher. Like that's what they're talking about.
Because that's what everybody wants now.
Yeah.
Nothing but multiverses.
Well, you can do. You watch that fucking. My favorite thing, random side tangent. I don't know if anyone listening to watch this. Go what's that A24 movie with fucking
Northman?
No, the multiverse one.
Oh, I can't remember, with Michelle Yeoh.
Michelle, yeah. Anyway, that one. So that's like all about multiverses, just with her, but as like an original character. I just love how everyone's so used to multiverse, meaning like MCU, different versions of actors or characters or versions of characters or whatever you want to put it, like getting like brought over. That as soon as like the multiverse used as an idea in which it was originally conceived as a creation, in like some fucking scientist is like there could be multiple versions. Everyone's like, nah, that's not fun. Like, it's all about bringing in characters we know, So, like, the idea of a multiverse is a very old idea. It's not just a like crossover of different franchises characters.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also Jaskier this season, great. He's totally bummed out after being rejected by Geralt. But he's biding his time, helping elves out, singing songs. Barding it up. Sure, he gets tortured at one point, abducted by
Firefucker.
Gets imprisoned for being a peeping Tom. Starts a band with a bunch of mice, but then he gets that hug with Geralt, when you need some help.
I like how he delivered that line. He's like, fuck it.
Yeah. He's great this season. I mean, there's no song like Toss a Coin to the Witcher, but,
no,
Burn.
But like that was sort of like they won a win with that one. I'm sure when they were creating that song for the show, they were like, this is going to be a meme and a banger that everyone talks about. So,
but Burn, Butcher, Burn, that's a good song. Yeah, I do like the song he was singing with his mice. That was very good. That put guard, yeah. Any other key things you think we need to talk about? It's kind of obviously they've got all the Brotherhood stuff where they're plotting against each other for power. Triss I think, featured way more this season, obviously. She comes to Car Morgan to try and help Ciri for a bit.
Well, I think, at least as far as I'm aware from what the games told me, that like she was always called in first, and then like Yennefer was called in as the backup in the original story or whatever. And that's sort of like, I like how they tease this, like that she'd been there before and whatever else. Not like we need to see it, but like it's just funny because throughout the first season we had like, because we jumped around so many years that you meet these characters, but there's all these times obviously they've built history, like built upon their relationships that you just don't really see.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else?
I mean, there's a lot. I don't really know.
It's a weird.
I feel like we've touched on the basis. There's a lot of political threads. There's a lot of like very fantastical, crazy things. Like, yeah. I mean, once you get into all the cross stuff, because I was just thinking then, I'm like, I don't know. I just had a random brain fart where I was like, when they at the end of the show when they see the Wild Hunt, I'm like, I wonder if that was actually on a different plane because the Wild Hunt isn't actually in their plane yet. So I guess maybe that's what that was. I guess they were on like a different sphere, as they call it, or whatever, and that's where they saw the Wild Hunt. I guess that would explain that. But yeah, I mean, there's lots of just fucking crazy things. I mean, the big reveal. Fuck, why haven't I thought of this? Oh yeah. I mean, unless she was going to say it. But the big reveal for people who don't know this, obviously, and I assumed you did not know this, is the reveal of what happened to Ciri's father and who the king was behind pulling all the strings this entire time. You didn't have this spoiled or didn't know this? Okay.
Like,
so what do you feel that? How was that?
It's Ciri's dad. It's like what? Why are you ruling this other kingdom when you were the king of this, or prince to be of this other kingdom? This
find out next season. I don't know. I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah. This is the guy who was a hedgehog man, right?
Dunny.
Hedgehog man is behind everything.
Yep. Dunny. That was his name.
That's unfortunate.
Behind everything. Yep.
Behind everything. Ordered the murder of the child.
Yep.
Yeah, even though they tried to take credit for it right to his face. Wow.
That was actually a good one.
Also, the scene where she like freezes all those people.
Stabs
them all. Yeah.
That was good shit too.
That was good shit.
Yeah. I like the reveal, like, of him, because I wondered if, like, we got to the end of the show and I'm like, fuck, season 3 before we're going to get there, because this is like, him being that character is like is on a small plate of things I actually know. And I was like, okay, season 3 we're going to get there, and then it cuts back to them in that last scene, and he's talking. I'm like, oh, here we go. He's going to spin around and have like a big like, motherfucker, I was the hedgehog guy, and then yeah. I
mean, they did a solid job setting that up with obviously Ciri having the flashbacks to imagining her parents being there.
Well, it's good because Geralt says to her, he's like, well, how did they know? And then it goes to them, like, he goes, how did they know that they like to hunt for you? Like, how did they know you? Like, all these things, like, how did they know? Like, Geralt's the one who's saying,
why are they chasing you?
How?
Yeah.
Why are they chasing you? How did they know? All this sort of stuff. So, and then it cuts to them. So it's like, well, the reason is because it's her father, and importantly, to make this all make sense, is that they have that scene with Triss where you do see that quick flashback where Ciri's mother is explaining to Dunny, I'm going to keep calling that, not King, starts with fucking Eve, I can't remember. I can't remember. But he's like, Ciri's mum is explaining the prophecy, like the elder blood type stuff and all that sort of shit. Like, so he's aware of what's up. They make sure to throw that in, so it makes sense.
King
like in that
Emma,
flashback.
or something like that.
It's Eamon.
Yeah, something like that.
Emerald.
Yeah, so that's interesting where we're going to go next season, whenever that comes out. I think I'll be interested to read some of the action. Like, I think people would probably be disappointed it wasn't as action heavy as the first season. That would be my gut instinct.
Do you reckon? No, you're probably right. What am I saying?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. You know, it is like it's not Game of Thrones, but like it's filling the void a little bit.
But it's so much better than the last couple seasons of Game of Thrones.
The Emmy Award-winning seasons of Game of Thrones, I don't think are too bad. But yeah, also we get like an end of credits sick trailer for Blood Origins. Obviously the prequel series that's set 1,200 years before the events of the television series. Blood Origin will depict the creation of the first Witcher, as well as the events leading to the conjunction of the spears. It also explores the ancient elven civilization before its demise. So yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. So this is... I don't fully understand it, but like this is a world in which everything's like okay, I guess, and then the like a mystical event or whatever occurs, so then monsters start coming through because there's like a crossover, so then they have to create the monoliths or whatever to stop them, but then because the monsters are getting through anyway because of the weird conjunction event, then they have to create the first Witcher to fight the monsters. So there's like a lot of like very backstory type shit happening in this. Also, it's going to cover a lot more about elves, and like they're like in a place where they're actually more of like the
dominant force,
the dominant force. And I think one of the characters from whatchamacallit is going to be in this. The same voice actor, I think, is going to play the same character in this, but I can't remember the character's name. I just can't remember which one. Also, Dylan Moran's in this, so double thumbs up.
He's playing Uthrok One Nut.
Love that.
Seems fitting.
The cast is a banger, though. The whole all-around cast, though.
Yeah, there's pretty good actors and actresses in that, so yeah. And created by Declan Barra, who I will once again bring up, still credited on Wikipedia for his writing credit from our review on ExplosionNetwork.com.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's still there. Still have not found a better source. Probably when Blood Origins comes out, they'll take it down, but you know.
We were the first source.
Yeah. All right, that'll bring us to the end of this spoilercast. Let us know what you thought of The Witcher Season 2 by going to explosion.com/Twitter or jump to Discord at explosion.com/Discord. If you want to help us out here at What Do You Want to Watch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser, or rate the show on Spotify. That's new, that helps. And if you like this episode and thought it was worth tossing some coins to us, you can do it digitally at explosion.com/support. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.
What if your princess is more than you bargained for? Are you sure you're ready for this?
Welcome back.
I'm Ashley Hobley. Joining me today, Dylan Blight.
I think so. You might have to edit this out, but I did a Geralt like a grunt. But I think the Discord audio doesn't.
Yeah, I did not hear that.
So my joke kind of but I did a Geralt.
Good. It's like he's here.
Such a good impression.
Yeah. All right. So